This is a gut check question for all of us, men, specifically husbands. Do you love your wife like Christ loves the church?
That is a tough one. That's not a soft question at all.
Nope.
Yes, Bobby, I love you a ton, but we're supposed to put God first, right? God's supposed to be above all. The standard scripture sets this for us. And it's a standard that stretches us every day. The scripture does, though, right? But it's a tough one to answer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, love my wife I'd put her above me for sure. God's first. Well, give me your thoughts on that, bro.
Yeah, so if I think of loving my wife like Christ loves the church, that means it's not about me. My pride, my ego, and my selfish desires are gone. And I'm loving her for all that she is and for all that she can be, right? It's not about me, it's about her. It's serving her in a way like Christ serves the church. And you're not becoming a nice guy. You're not saying you're not going to care about your own goals or desires or dreams, right? But I think if your marriage is really going to go to that next level, we are called as husbands to love our wife that way. And I think too often, especially in today's age of social media, not enough of us, and I will say us because I'm not perfect at this by any means, not enough of us men do that on a regular basis. And it's not because we can't, we won't, or we don't want to. I think too often life happens. I think we miss the mark because we get distracted, or we let our pride step in the way, or maybe some guys just don't know how, right? And I think that's a big point of this. So I think too often that's not the standard of societal norms, but as we just said, that's the standard of the biblical norms. That's the way that we're supposed to do it. And we get too distracted by the worldly way or the societal way with pride, ego, and selfish desires, opposed to working together as a team and loving our wife in a way like Christ loves the church, sacrificially for the greater good of our marriage and them.
You and I both, over the last 3 years, have worked with a lot of men in the groups. I wouldn't say counsel, but we've led calls where a lot of men come and talk about their marriage problems. And so often, Paul, I think you'd probably agree with this, men just don't want to own it. Their pride is such a big part of their marriage, and I've been there too. They wonder why their marriage is failing, yet they'll sit there and tell us, what's going on, and they're going to blame everything on the wife. But you got to have some ownership, right? I don't know that that's exactly what we're saying here, but they'll say, hey, I'm a Christian, and so I'm always going to make my marriage work. Okay. Are you following the way Christ would have lived, right? The way he would have treated his wife with love. And maybe sometimes, I'm not talking about being Mr. Nice Guy. Maybe you need to show more love than she's given you. Maybe you do need to sacrifice a little more. And what came to mind there was John Wooden. Remember the great coach from UCLA? Was it UCLA?
I believe so.
Basketball coach. He was legendary, won a ton of titles back in the day, but he was a Christian man, and he loved his wife like Christ loves the church, because he would talk about how he kept her on a pedestal. He would write her notes every week. Maybe it was every day. But when I read that, it really impacted me in the way I treat my wife sometimes. It's not always the best, but it gave me something to shoot for.
Yeah. We talked about this on Monday. It's the book, The Ideal Life, where you have a goal so far to reach that you can't possibly hit it, but you can keep working at it. And I think that's one. That's a very broad goal to say that you will love your wife like Christ loves the church every single day, and that you'll be a perfect husband, because that'll never happen, right? None of us can be perfect all the time. But if you have that goal, you're always going to check yourself to that and say, are my daily habits aligned with this goal that I have for myself? And another part of that is this. So a side note, we're starting a book club as part of the community, and even outside the community. I got 4 guys that are jumping in there that aren't part of the community. They're just friends of mine. Disciplines of a Godly Man. And part of that, it's so good, dude. It's just it's a lot of gut checks on are you living the way that you say you will and the way that you say you should because of your faith. Right. Part of loving your wife like Christ loves the church is our role of prayer and spiritual leadership. In the book, he talks about us being called to be the spiritual thermostat of our home. That means we set the tone for prayer. That means we set the tone for scripture and set the tone for worship. So it's on us to
Yeah.
take that next step and to lead the family in that way. In the same way with this love and compassion, like you're talking about, too often with pride and selfish desires, we don't allow humility. And even if you're saying that
Yeah.
they're 50% blame, I'm 50% blame, if you live out this verse, you will say, I will find a way to own more, because someone's got to let that boulder go first. And maybe it's going to
Yeah.
be us, and it's going to have to be us taking that lead to make things different, but also understanding we may not know the exact way to do it. So we have to be humble in that way to take that step, but also listen to what they have to say. Maybe try it their way, take the lead, but be open-minded and actually listen to what they have to say, not just listen to respond.
Be less reactive,
Mm.
more responsive.
Yeah.
That's such a key, because it's easy to let your pride get in the way and just, I'm just going to do what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's probably not going to work. And if you've been doing the same thing for years and years and it's not getting better, but you want your marriage to make it, well, you might have to do something hard. You might have to do something uncomfortable. You might have to suck it up and swallow your pride.
Mm-hmm.
Ephesians 5:25, that's where Paul says, husbands, love your wives, just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. That's sacrificial, patient, selfless. That's what we're called to do. That's how Christ loves the church. Right there in Scripture, like we do at every single call, right?
The 5 love languages guy, Gary Chapman,
Mm-hmm.
he's got a book where he talks about how this verse and living this out changed his marriage, because he realized how often he was not loving her sacrificially. He was getting in his own way. And another way that, because we can say this, here's the verse, here's the scripture, go do this.
Right.
But what does that actually look like? What does that mean for you? And a note that I took is it's giving up personal comfort, giving up selfish ambition, and getting out of our pride, getting out of the way of our pride for our wife's growth, her security, and her ability to flourish. Her security is a big one.
Your family will inherit more than just your bank account. They'll inherit your habits, your mindset, and the example that you left for them. And that's why we built Brotherhood Forged. We wanted to leave behind more than that, so our family had something to build off of. Inside, you'll find a community for men who want to leave a legacy worth following. You'll find coaching, accountability, and brotherhood all in one place. The link is in the show notes. Come join us.
If your own pride and your ego is in the way of your marriage to the point where she doesn't feel safe or heard or understood,
Mm-hmm.
that hurts, because that's something that
does.
we can change, but we don't allow ourselves to because we're too prideful.
That's a gut check. This is actually probably one of the most impactful podcasts we've done, because it really is. When you asked me that question at the beginning, it's like, I'm probably not. I love my wife dearly, but I am selfish. I am prideful too often. I don't always put her first, but I should, sacrificially.
Right.
But I should want to do that.
Yeah.
Right. And I think if you both do that for each other, you're going to have an amazing marriage. If you both put each other first, that's really the key, I think, is, both willing to put the other one first. That's not Mr. Nice Guy. That's what we're called to do.
I was just going to say, it's not getting confused with Mr. Nice Guy. It's not having a covert contract of, if I do this, then she'll do this type of
Right.
deal. You're doing what you should do, biblically speaking, because it's
Yeah.
what it tells us to do in the Bible. That's the way to do it. I think about so many different times in my marriage where I have not loved her that way, and I'll never get it right all the time. I keep saying it because I don't want anybody to think we're here saying that we're perfect and we got this figured out. We don't.
Nope.
That's why we're here, right? To continue to help
Right.
each other, continue to help ourselves. But I think of all those times where I did not love her in that way. It led to something worse. It led to an argument. It led to even worse argument because my pride or my ego was there. But if I can get out of my own way and I can be a little more humble and show humility in those differences and say, hey, you know what? You're right. I'm sorry. That can go so much further than the other way. It's like, it's easier said than done. I hate to even say it because it's true, right? But it takes a conscious effort, conscious decision. And in the book, he also talks about, just like an athlete would train for a sport, a husband has to train for marriage with intentional effort, practice, and faithfulness every day.
You mentioned it's not easy, but loving like Christ, it doesn't mean we're going to nail it perfectly ever, but it does mean we're willing to set down our pride, our preferences, and even often our comfort for her good. without keeping score, without looking for something in return.
I agree, man. I think I just thought of this too. If you think about, get your pride out of the way so you can be proud of your marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Wow.
that's about two, that one. I can be proud of myself and I can be proud of a lot of accomplishments. But if my pride gets in the way, I won't be as proud of my marriage as I could be by sacrificially loving my wife and allowing us to step into what we could be opposed to the opposite. Like that talks about that flourishing piece, man.
Mm-hmm.
What becomes possible if you go out of your way to love your wife? And maybe that's even a way that you wish that she would love you back. Set the tone, set the standard, take that first step.
Yeah. Love her, love her, love her. Pride's a killer. It's definitely a marriage killer. This was good, Paul. Got any challenge for today?
Yep.
It's your turn to do a challenge.
No, it's no, I'm just kidding. I'm a hot potato yet. No, man.
There you go.
Find one small way to love your wife sacrificially. It could be doing a chore that she hates. I probably should take over bath night more now that I think about that. Listening instead of reacting, or even just praying for her, praying for yourself to be the best version of yourself that you can be, the best husband that you can be, the best father that you can be. Put those things in your prayer. And it's just about taking that next intentional step.
It's not just saying it. I love you. Show her. You got me on that praying over her. I don't do that nearly enough. Very rarely, because it's uncomfortable. It's not easy. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. So that's a great reminder.
Yeah, we just talked about that last Wednesday on the discipleship call. It was good.
That was the one I missed. I was still with you. I had good reason.
You did, man. You did.
That's all I got. You got anything else?
Yep. Love like Christ. That's the real measure of a man. And I think too often society, social media, they tell you what a man looks like. Nah, there's a pretty good idea of what that looks like in the Bible. You just got to pick it up.
Be blessed, y'all.
See you guys.